Okay, we're up to Daf in Sotah. We're up to Lamed Gimel Amid Beis right at the bottom, and we digress to discuss the Meraglim. We digress to discuss the Meraglim, and we had to get into Meraglim because we were discussing the stones and discussing the heaviness of the stones and lifting the stones, and how we were able to ascertain how many Meraglim it took to lift the clusters of grapes. Yeah, Moshe davened for Yeshua. Koshiacham Meitz Raglim is called Yeshua, and Kalev he didn't daven for. Kalev went and he went to Chevron, and he went and he spoke to her, and he was davening by the cave of the Avos. So I'd like to spend a little time on something I found in the Mesifta, very very nice piece of Torah in the Mesifta. Take a look at the Tosfos. Avoisai bikshu alai rachamim. He said Avoisai. He said my fathers be mavakesh alai rachamim. So in other words. Tosfos is on Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis. It's the second Tosfos in the bottom. So when you go to a kever and you're davening, what did I say? I'm sorry. I just want you to figure it out for yourself. Thank you for listening. But okay, this is the outside margin. It's the word that as soon as you hear from your Rabbi, your eye contact is you heard the word Tosfos, you went like this, like in daven that he won't call on you, right? That's what Tosfos meant. Anyway, so I'm not calling you. So he goes and he goes and davens by the cave of Tzadikim. Now, the Tosfos has the kasha, and we'll digress in that kasha. Listen to this fascinating Tosfos, guys. Lamed Dalid Amid Beis, two Tosfos in the bottom. V'asei bikshu alei rachamim. Then Toimar v'amar perek misha mesu the mesei lo yadinan midi. You know, it's the Mason. They don't know what's going on in this world. Right. So they don't know what's Meraglim. They don't know anything. So what's he davening for? Even the Avos don't know. In other words, you would think that maybe a regular person doesn't know, but maybe Avram Yitzchak Yaakov do know. But the maskana there is he doesn't know. Yeshleima, listen to Tosfos. Al yidei tefila shezem ispalol ma'idiyim lehem. No, they don't know, but if you tell them, they know. You know, like this, they don't know. But if you daven to them, then they do know. V'kach ispalol. Okay, that they do know. Okay, so it's a very interesting idea. You know, you daven, but now here's the question: when you daven, who are you davening to? When you daven, who you go to the keva. So when you go to the keva with tzaddik, right? Who are you davening to? You davening to the tzaddik. You're davening for shlichus. What are you davening for? Okay, so I'll give you. This is based upon the Mesifta. So the Pasha from Agamara. He's davening to the Abbas. Look at the Lashon. Avoisai, bikshu alei rachamim. You know, it's saying tatis, dry tatis. Go, that means fathers. Go, you know, your head, yes, rachamim. You know, yes, rachmanis. But he's davening to them. He's davening to them. You know, it's not that you should go. He's davening to them. So now the listen. The Mishnah Berurah says in Tov Kuf Pei Aleph, Tifkat and Chav Gimel, you should mispal in the schus to the tzaddik, but not to the tzaddik themselves. No, it's Mashi. He quotes the Maril that you daven the schus to the tzaddik, but you don't daven to the tzaddik himself, which is not mashma from my Gemara like that. Yeah, but they're davening directly to. No, you're not davening to Hashem in the schus to the tzaddikim. You're davening to the tzaddikim themselves. In other words, it's put down la halacha that you don't daven to the tzaddik. You're davening to Hashem in the schus to the tzaddik. Good.
Standing there, the drug should help you in this list of
Absolutely. The concept. Now, it's not mashma from the Gemara like that, but okay. So there's a Bach I want to show. I sent out a Bach today, guys. Look at this Bach. If you have, again, I sent it out for the people who use Art Scroll, and it's in the first edition. So I love zinging that. So it's your Dalid. It's your Dalid. Take a look at this. I'll post it. If you Benji, you have it. Your Dalid Amid Aleph. You Dalit Amid Aleph. You Dalit Amid Aleph. If you have an old Gemara, if you don't, it's on your phone. Okay, so this is listen to this. Al Maisapar V'Amrav Chama Bar Chanina Ve'ma Nistarta Kivra Shal Moshe Me'enai Bas V'Dam. Why don't we know where Moshe is buried? Guys, you can see this on the screen. The guys on the screen, you see it. Why don't we know where Moshe is buried? If they should go live via duel, if they Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Sha'asid, right? Beis Hamikdash Licharei, the Beis Hamikdash is going to be destroyed. Will the Golis as Yisrael me'artzam? They're going to be sent to Golis. Shema yovo l'kvurasoi shel Moshe. Maybe they'll come to the kever of Moshe. V'oisa shah. V'yadin b'bchia. And they'll stand there and they'll cry. V'yischanu l'Moshe. And they'll entreat Moshe. V'yomu l'Moshe Rabbeinu. Amud b'tfila ba'adenu. Go ahead and daven for us. V'oimed Moshe u'mevatles ha'gzeira. And Moshe is going to go ahead and be mevatel the gzeira. Mifnei shechavivet tzadikim b'misasam yosem mechayehem. Shekein atam moitzi b'shosh o Yisrael b'midbar. V'sorchu b'maseyim and they what? They did averis. V'asu egel. Kvatzav HaKadosh Baruch Hu al Yisrael. V'amal Moshe heref mimeni v'ashmidam. Kama tzadikim hoye b'yisei adar. V'kama chasidim. Moshe v'Aaron v'Yeshua Eldad Meidad v'ayin zakenim. Ushar chacham v'talmidim. V'yasa b'shvilam. V'ybitla gezerah ela b'shvil Moshe. Amar Chama v'Chanina might say. Okay, so you see that davening, you would daven to Moshe, and that the tefillah of a tzaddik could help. And Moshe's the tefillah. So it says the Bach. Why we don't know Moshe's keva is because that would be the ultimate. We know Moshe was buried. That would be the ultimate, and people will be able to go ahead. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not be able to run the world the way he wants to, because Moshe can intercede. The Beis Hamikdash would be existing. We'd be in Eretz Yisrael, which again may not be so great. Again, having the Beis Hamikdash would they say that the good thing that David didn't build the Beis Hamikdash, had David built the Beis Hamikdash, would have been destroyed. So better that HaKadosh Baruch Hu take out his anger on Eitz Avanim than on us. So Tom says he had Beis Hamikdash. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing. But again, so Moshe would intercede. So this fascinating. You have this conflict between the Maril and you have the Argamara that you're davening to directly to the others directly on and informing them. And they will go ahead and how they're poil, they do it. Of course, they can't do it out of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you're davening to them, not in this chus. Now, I also sent out he brings from the Sefer Hasidim. I also found the Sefer Hasidim. Again, this is all from the Mesifta. There's a Sefer Hasidim. Let me get rid of this one. So look, the Sefer Hasidim. It's on your phone. It's very, very quick. Barzilai Giladi Omar MS Ari Ki. Listen to this. Ki Hania Yesh Lemesim. There's Hana. Literally, not to Mesim, Ayavehem, their beloved, those who love them, Holchim al Kivreim, they'll go on to their Kvarim, Umivakshim Nishmasan, Taiva, and they'll ask from them Taiva, Umativim Lem Ba'isailam, and they'll do good for you in this world. V'gam Kishim Mivakshim Hem, Hemispalim al Achayim, right? And when you Mivakish them, they'll daven for the living people. In other words, they'll daven for you. As I state in Sefer Chasidim, Kolib ben Yefuna Nishtat al Kiviyavais. And therefore, you see. So again, you see this idea of going to the kever of tzaddikim or beloved ones, even not tzaddikim, and being mevakesh directly to them. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's Rachel. Right.
She goes to Hashem and
1,000%. 1,000%. But if without this, the other places you say it's Rachel, right? But again, so it's very interesting that. So he has the problem is that. With the Maril is what does he do with this Gemara? The Yesha Kasu ain't steer me a Gemara kan l'shitas the Maril. Make kimin shelo oilam mutal levakesh me'amesim sheyivakshu levrachmim fnei Hashem. Since it's permitted to go and daven to a mace to be vakshem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the issur hu rak levakesh min hamesim sheyazu lonu b'koicham. The issur is to that you don't daven for the mace, that the mace themselves shall help you. That's what the Maril means. In other words, they read. The Mishnah Berurah is saying his own pshat. He's saying the Maril. He's not saying he's not saying his own thing. They're explaining the Maril when he said that you can't daven. They should daven in the schus of tzaddikim. It means that you could daven to the tzaddik, but not that the tzaddik himself should help you. The tzaddik should go to the Rebbeinu Shalom help you, which is basically, I think, what I know. That's what I do. If I go to a kever of a tzaddik, I find a good story about him, or something to think about, something special. I was lucky to be by the kever of Meir Simcha. I was lucky to by the kever of Meir Simcha on his yard site to say Kaddish, and I asked for certain things in Baruch Hashem. I think at least one or two of them worked out. So I didn't ask for the jets. Trust me. The faster Meruba like the faster,
You better make Chachma.
Even Meir Simcha. You daven for the jets, and the bas still comes out and goes, nah, I don't think so. I film nicht.
I'll tell you about it.
Right, very good.
Three Moshe's life didn't listen to him. He told him to stop davening because Moshe wanted to tear it. No, it would have worked.
It would have worked. He said, right, right.
He asked him to stop.
I don't know if he spoke out the other day. The Gruss says you say no twice. If you say no twice, you be listen. We learn from Miriam. Kelna, Refana, and Kelna, Refana, and Miriam got better, right? So we have a chumash with Veschanan. You have any chumash right there? Okay, great. So he's in the beginning. If you look in the Veschanan, and he's Moshe is recounting. V'yisaba Hashem bi lemanchem v'yishama elai, and Vayomer Hashem elai Rab al toiset daber elai. Don't speak anymore because Chaf Kapei Moshe said Ebra na ve'eretz haaretz. So he said it once. Ebra na ve'eretz haaretz. So Amar al toiset daber elai. Don't say another na. Don't say another na. So it's very, very interesting. The whole Inyan of davening by tzaddikim, whether Mason or what's going on. I thought it's kedai to spend some time on that. Okay, back to the barn, discussing back to the scheduled program. Right now, there's by Yeshuva mitur aretz. If they came back from Meraglim after 40 days, they came back. Vayelchu vayavau. It says vayelchu vayav. Rashi's not goyris this. Rashi says you take it out. Rashi says you goyris el vayelchu, just vayelchu. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai makish halicha lebiyah. Make a hekesh between them going to them coming. Ma bia be'etz sarah. Just like when they came back, it was what the eitz sarah to convince Bnei Yisrael not going to Eretz Yisrael. Af halicha be'etz sarah. Again, they say over why the Meraglim gained. They were worried their own gaiva. They were worried about their own gaiva. They were all, in the Siyam, they had such prestigious positions in the Midbar. If they go into Eretz Yisrael in a normal life, they would lose their position. So really, that's what they were worried about. It's unbelievable. Anyway, it says the pasuk says. They said and what did they say? Vayom banu we came. Asher shalachton v'gam zavas chol v'dvash. He said, "Period." But efes ki ozaam hayoshi ba'aretz ve'arim b'tzuras gedaylos ma'ay. They're very fortified. V'gam yalidi anak v'inu sham. So what's the vayasapula vayomru banu? We came. And we came to the land, and they said it's Eretz Zavas Chol Devash. So they said a good thing, correct? They said a good thing. Then it says afterwards, Efes Kiyaz Am Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Reb Meir Kol Lashon Hara She'ein Boi Davar Emes B'Tchilasai Ein Miskayim B'Sayfai. Any Lashon Hara that does not have a truth in the beginning won't be Miskayim in the end. So therefore they said Eretz Zavas Chol Devash to give it to Mishabeach Eretz Yisrael, and then they continue with their Lashon Hara. It said, and Vayas Kolev Esa'am, and Kolev quieted the people, El Moshe. Right? He told the people, Vayas is he quieted the people. Amar Rabba, Sher Sisan, right, B'Dvarim. That he quieted them with Dvarim. Pasach Yeshua the Komishtoi. Kolev thought the following. He saw Yeshua spoke, and he wanted to speak, and Amalei, Dain Rosh Ketia. This guy is a Rosh Ketia. Rashi says he had no children, so he has no Yerushas Aretz. So Yemalel, so he said, speak, Amar. So that Kolev. Imishta ina, Amri Bey Milsa, V'chasminli. So what did he say? Amalahen, V'chizu B'lvadas Lei Ben Amram. In other words, if he would have gone ahead and just opened up in a regular speech, they would have quieted him down. So what did he say? He said incredulously, this is the only thing that Ben Amram did for us? In other words, and then the Meraglim thought, okay, he's joining the crowd, right? He's going to go ahead and start bashing Moshe, right? And then he began to speak. So Savi beganusa kamishtai. He thought they're going to speak in the Genus of Moshe. Ishtiku, they kept quiet. Amalahu, he told Klal Yisrael, listen, Hetziyanim Mitzrayim, V'korlanu esayom, V'chilanu esamon, right? Dayenu. Im yaimer asu sulmoi svali rakia. If he would have told us to make ladders and go up to rakia, we wouldn't listen to him. We'd go up the ladders to Rakia, we'd inherit it. We'd do anything for Moshe. If Moshe asked us to walk on air, we'd walk on air. We can't go. They said mimenu from us, Al tikri mimenu, don't read from us. Al kaviyachol mimen noi. It's from him. In other words, kaviyachol, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu cannot take care of the Eretz Yisrael to defeat the kings there. Shafilu ba'alabayas, even a Kadosh Baruch Hu and Yachol, I'd see Kalim Misham, he can't take his Kalim out of it. That's Chas v'Shalom, what they said. They said, Eretz HaCheles Yeshve'ahi, it's a land that eats what its constituency up. Darish Rabba HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ani Chashchatil L'Toiva. I was Machshel L'Toiva, that every place they went, they saw dead people. There were Levias all over the place. I did it for their good. The Hem Chashvu L'Ra, and all they thought about, look, how many people are dying there, dead people, it's like crazy. Ani Chashat L'Toiva, D'chal Heicha D'matu, any place the Meraglim came, Ma Heshiva did who? What were the people busy with? Ma Heshiva did who? They're busy with Mason. Kihechi the nitru, they'd be troubled with the Mason. And they won't ask anything about the Meraglim. The army, Eov died. Batridu Kuli Alma Hasped, and everyone was busy with the Hesped. In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a diversion. He made a diversion. People were dying. They wouldn't have anything to do. Anyway, what happened? And they said, wow, oh, this is amazing. Well, a lot of people are dying constantly. What else did the Meraglim say? When he beinenu kechagavim, and we were in beinenu kechagavim, what? In our eyes, kechagavim, the chino yinu, and so too we were in their eyes. In other words, we viewed ourselves as chagavim, and they viewed us as chagavim. Now the question is, so they know what they felt. How do you know what the people felt? Amar Meshashia, Meraglim shakaru have. They were liars. That we were in our eyes like right l'chai, very good. They could be magish, like grasshoppers. Ella, how would they know what they were in the eyes of what of the giants? It's not true. They weren't shakronim. They did know. When it seemed to be that even then there was a minig to have a sudas havra for avelim, and we had so many people dying. So they went ahead and they had these meals. Tute arze have a mavre. They used to go ahead and have it under the cedar trees. Ki chazinu, and when the Meraglim saw them coming, solku yasle bilone. They went and they ascended and they sat in the trees. And shamu, they heard the Ka'amri, ki chazinin inshi didamel kamse bilone. We saw people that looked like what? Like grasshoppers that look like people, right? So therefore we see that we were in their eyes like grasshoppers. What happened? They lifted up the voice. They very famous Gemara guys. Amar Rabbi and that day when Meraglim came back, it was Erev Tisha B'Av. It was Ches of Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu. Heim Bachu B'Chiyah Shalchinam. They're crying for nothing. However, Vani Ekva Lehem B'Chiyah L'Dairis. This day is why it's going to be set B'Chiyah L'Dairis. Very, very, very famous Gemara. They wanted to go ahead and stone. And then a covered Hashem appeared in the oil. They went ahead and they threw stones to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They threw into the clouds. The Anani covered obviously they can't reach Shemayim, so they threw into the Anani covered maybe. They died. It doesn't say Bima Gefa, it says Bama Gefa. Rashi's Medayik, Bama Gefa is something more severe. They died a horrible death. Right? What's the why? Because it says Bama Gefa. Amrav Chanina Bapapa Dorish Rav Shila Ishkvar Tamarta their tongues descended. The Nafal Al Tiburim, and they mamish descended from their mouths into their navels. And worms were coming out of their tongues. The Nichnasa Tiburim when entering their navels. And Tiburim, and they were coming out from their Tiburim, the navels, and going up their tongue. From Nachman Yitzchak by Askra Mason, they daven by Askra. Mida Keneged Mida. The bottom line is HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes Mida Keneged Mida in order to illustrate what the problem was by stressing the tongue over here and then stressing that they spoke Lashon Hara and the horrible thing about Lashon Hara. So it's unbelievable. Vayicher Af Hashem Be'uza. Okay, now we're discussing. I skipped. Says the Gemara. Okay. The Kibin Shola Achron should be Yisrael Mirayadin. So getting back to our originally scheduled program. Okay, getting back. How do we get into this? Right? They went to the Yarden, guys. They went to the Yarden. The Kohanim, their feet hit the Yarden. As soon as their feet hit the Yarden, it went up Neidachad. Good. The Pasuk's mashma they put their foot back on the other side of the Yarden, and the Yarden went back to its normal flow. Nimsa Bnei Yisrael were on the western side of the Yarden, and they were on the eastern side of the Yarden. Okay, so this is what was the very, very famous nest that transpired over here. The Kivin Shalu Achman should be Yisrael min Yarden. Chazru Mayim Koim, the water went back. Shnemar by Hiba Alus Hanim Nosi Aron Bris Hashem. Mitoich Yarden Nitku Kapes Ragle Hakahanim El Charava. They went on dry land. Vayeshuvu Mei Yarden Komam. The water went back to its normal flow. Vayelchu Kitmol Shilsham went as normal. Al Kol Gedoisav on all its banks. Nimsa Aron V'Noisav V'Kahanim Mitzad Echad. You find the Aron and its carriers, the Kahanim on the other side. Yisrael Mitzad Echad, and Yisrael on the other side. So what happened? Noisei Aron es Noisav. The Aron literally jumped up, and it carried its carriers, and they went across. Shenemar Vayika Shetom Kol Om Lava Vayava Aron Hashem V'Kahanim Fnei Om Val Davizen Nenashusa. So we see that a miraculous thing happened with the Aron, that the Aron was Nosei es Nosav. The Aron carried its carriers. Now the Ma'aseh with Uzzah is the following. Again, we did this yesterday. We did that historical Rashi. So maybe we might forgot. So let's go through it again outside. Again, the sojourn of the Aron. The Aron was, of course, built in the Midbar. It stayed in the Midbar for 40 years. They come to Gilgal. It's in Gilgal for 14 years. After Gilgal, it comes to Shiloh for 369. It's taken to battle, captured by the Pelishtim. It's in the hands of the Pelishtim for 7 months. The Pelishtim are having a horrible, horrible, horrible time. People are dying. All kinds of crazy things happening. The Pelishtim send it back. They put it in a wagon, a brand new wagon, and cows, which are nursing cows, which normally don't leave their young, their calves, and without any driver, without any GPS, this conveys, took him back. The people in Beit Shemesh saw it. We're going to see a lot of people died as a result because they didn't give it proper cover. That's the Maisa with its return to Kal Yisrael. It's kept in the house. It was kept in the house of a person named Avinadav for 20 years. David decides he wants to bring it up to Yerushalayim. Avinadav had a son Uzzah, and we're about to describe what happened exactly as they're bringing it they wanted to bring it to a more permanent resting spot. Even though there was no Mishkan, the Mishkan was in Shiloh, it was in Nov. They weren't going to bring it to Shiloh for Nov. They weren't going to bring it to Shiloh. They're going to bring it to Beis David. Okay, so here's what happens. So Vayihi, Vayavo ad Goyrin Kidain. They came to the threshing floor of Kidain. Vayashlach Uzzah es Yadai, and Uzzah sent out his hand. Lechos es Aron. What happened was that it hit and the Aron was going to fall. It hit a bump, and the Aron was going to fall off the wagon. So Uzzah instinctively went. He took his hand and he touched the Aron to keep it in place. Amalek Kadosh Baruch Hu, Uzzah Noisav Nasa Atzmai Kol Shekain. If the Aron was able to carry its carriers, certainly it's able to what? Carry itself. Certainly it's able to take care of itself. Vayichar af Hashem. But Uzzah, as a result, Hashem got angry at Uzzah. Vayakeu Sham al Shal, and Uzzah died there. Literally, al Shal, he died sitting where he was. We're going to see Darshan Shal in a second. So now, Rabbi Yochanan.
You say you didn't get proper cover by letting it by second. If he didn't put his hand out, the plan is that he might have let the Aron fall.
Again, if he was punished, obviously, it was known that the Aron's no sayas no so, right? So you can instinctively do something, but instinctively you can touch a pot, and because it's falling and it'll get burnt. You get burnt. Now, Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Elazar Chadam al Iskei Shaloi, right, on his shaygeg, Shal is lashon shaygeg. Chadam is she'aset tzrachav b'fanav. He had gone to the base like he said, not necessarily in front of it, but near enough to it. And Shal is lashon like shilshul for something dropping down. By Yom Hashem im Aron Elokim, it says Uzzah died there with the Aron of Hashem. Am Rabbi Yochanan Uzzah b'lo Olam Haba. Uzzah came right to Olam Haba. He didn't have any judgment. He went directly to Olam Haba. Shnemar im Aron Elokim. He went ahead and he died in Aron Elokim. Ma Aron la'olam kayim, just like the Aron is what is around forever. Af Uzzah ba la'olam haba, so to Uzzah went to Olam Haba. Okay. Now David's reaction to this. Vayichel David al sheparetz Hashem paretz b'Uzzah. Now Chas v'shalom, he wasn't angry with Hashem. Was going to see he was angry with himself. David's face turned black like a cookie being cooked. Means the place gets dark like a cookie. No, hasam ksiv af. There it says vayichal David. There it says vayichal af. When it says af, that's different. David, why was David punished? Why was David punished? In other words, guys, David did something wrong. He put it on the wagon. Yeah. David set this up, guys. David set this up. He put it on the wagon. Why did he put it on the wagon? Like everyone knows, no stairs, no stuff. Everyone knows that in the midbar it was carried. In other words, the Kos carried it, right? Kos carried it. Whether it floated on their shoulders or they did carry it, but it didn't go on the wagons like all the other Kalim. It did not go on the wagons, guys. Like all the other Kalim went on wagons. The Aron didn't go on a wagon. So David makes a very, very basic mistake that any child knows, that the Aron you don't put on a wagon. So forget about Uzzah touching it. Why in the world did he put it on the wagon? Says Gemara, I'll tell you why. If they might understand, they should call it Torah Zemiras. He called Torah Zemiras. Shneimar, Zemiras Hayeluchu Kecha mi Beis Migurai. Songs were to me your laws from the base Migurai, from my base Migurai from the time I was young. That's what he says. So David calls it Zemiras. He calls Torah, which is deep. Torah. Now, it's a very nice thing. Zemiras is very Zemiras is a very nice thing, but there's an aspect of Torah that David is Chaviyachol belittling, and therefore me the Keneged me that David forgot a basic halacha. Like Divrei Torah shekasav behen, it's oyef einecha boy veinenu. If you blink your eye, it's not there because you have to delve so much into it. At the Karasan Semiros, you're calling it Semiros. Harini machshilcha bedavar alu golia mimichshel in what you're calling Semiros. Shafilu tinokesh shel beis Rabin Yoden. I'll make you michshel and something that feel tinokesh shel knows. I say they didn't give wagons to avoidance like kodesh because they had the avoidance like kodesh. What did they do? They kodesh aleim by kosef yisau by kosef with their shoulders yisau they carried. So what was David's mistake? Because he had to go ahead and figure. In other words, to say it doesn't say he forgot a halacha. It said he made a mistake. You're talking about David HaMelech over here. So the Radak, the Heilige Radak, Father's favorite Pirush. So Radak says Geshmak. He made the following mistake. He thought that the din in the Aron, that it has to be transported, is only in the midbar where you have the difference between it and the other kalim. The other kalim are in wagons and it's being carried. But now it's where it's a din unique to the Aron. It's not being transported with vis-a-vis other kalim. He thought you put it on a wagon. That was his mistake. I mean, but at least it's an insight into what he could have done. It's not he forgot a halacha.
Didn't have the regular carriers in the Mishkan in the middle. You had the regular carriers. So
Well, he could have Levium. He could have Kahas. He could have Kahas. No, but putting on the wagon. I'm saying it's a difference. He thought that din is the contrast versus other kalim. He has no other kalim in town, Yankel. It's just the only game in town. Okay. Anyway, since we're discussing people who died, Uzzah died as a result of the Aron, let's get back to what I told you the other day. So the Aron was in the capture by the Pelishtim, was there for 7 months, right? And it's brought back to Akal Yisrael. It's sent on the wagon, and it shows up, and the men of Beit Shemesh see it there. And what happened? They went Vayach Ba'anshe Beit Shemesh Kiro Ba'aron. Yishum Daron Vayach, just because they saw the Aron, they died. So some Rabbi Lazar Chadama Kaitzun Mishtachim Hayu. You know what? They saw it, they nodded, and they went back to work. They said other words. What? On the base, they said, "Man amriyoch damriyes, uman asa aloch dispayis." Who got angry? Who Mika? Rashi says, from who did you get angry? And you didn't save yourself from being captured, and now who's going to go ahead and be mafias that you're coming to us? I don't know what. Uman asa. Okay, anyway. How many people died? Shivim ish v'chamishim elef. Take out the vav, guys. Shivim ish chamishim elef. Right? Shivim ish chamishim elef. Rabbi Vover, Rabbi Lazar Chadam, Shivim ish 70 died. Hayu Called echad v'echad shakol chamishim elef. Each one of these chashim people was equal to 50,000. V'chad amar chamishim elef hayadu 50,000. Kol echad v'echad shakol k'shivim Sanhedrin. They were like each one was a member of like 70 of Sanhedrin. Vayiki tzadu nasi arin Hashem shisha tzadim. Now this is speaking where David HaMelech now finally is bringing the arin down. In other words, it state that let's continue on a little more history. It remains in the hands of after this. When Uzzah dies, he brings it to base Oved Edaim. It's there for a total of 3 months. In that 3-month period, Oved Edom's wife and his daughter-in-law will get pregnant and a lot of kids. David takes that as a result. Rashi says 6 months, and David now is going to bring it, but he's going to bring it very, very tenuously. So we have a steer in how he brought it, guys. We have a steer in how he brought it, and that's what the Gemara is going to discuss. What's the steer? Says the Gemara. By Yehi, he Sa'adu Noisei Aaron, the lashon of the Noisei Aaron took footsteps, right? Aaron Hashem, Shishim Tza'adim, and they took Shisha Tza'adim 6 steps, and Vayisbach Shar, they shechted a Shar Umari and a fat animal, a fat animal. You know, that's what it says here, that in Shmuel. Ukasiv B'divrei Hayamim, and it says in Divrei Hayamim, right? Shiva Parim v'Shiva Elam, 7 Parim, 7 Elam. So was it 1 Shar and 1 Marie, or was it 7 Parim, 7 Elam? Samra Papa Bashmuel, I'll call Psia, each footstep they took, right? Shar Marie. I'll call Sheish v'Sheish Psias, and then by number 6, then they bought Shiva Parim v'Shiva Elam. I mean, talking about a lot of mizbeachs, a lot of bummis. Bummis were permitted now. It's on Nova Givon. Amalur of Chista in Cain. Milesa es kol Eretz Yisrael b'mais. You know what? Fill Eretz Yisrael with b'mais. So I say Ella Amar of Chista. You know what it means? Al kol sheish v'sheish psiyas. Each 6 step they took. Shar Marie. Al kol shisha sidarim shall sheish psiyas 36. Then Shiva Parim v'Shiva Elam. That's what they did. Siv. It says Divrei Hayamim by Uzzah. It says Vayavan ad Goyrin Kidain by Yashlach Uzzah. Siv. It says in Shmuel. It says Garoin Nachain. Now, which was it? Was it Kidain or Nachain? Some Rabbi Yochanan Betchil initially Kidain. Initially, it was Kidain. There's Miramis that he was killed. Kidain is a spear. So Uzzah was killed. Ubesoif, right? After 3 months, and they waited base Oved Edom, then it's called Nachain, because now it's prepared to go ahead and continue its journey. Okay. Says the Gemara Vaita. There was 3 sets of stones. Echad shahakim Moshe be'eretz Moav. One that Moshe put up in Eretz Moav. It says be'eva yardim be'eretz Moav hoyel Moshe be'er as a Torah zayis. Well, the Halon in Parshas Kisavai it says v'chasafta aleihem as kol divrei Torah zayis be'hetiv. Be'asir you learn out be'er a kal b'chaimer. So just like over there they wrote the Torah, so to Moshe wrote the Torah. The echad shahakim Yeshua b'toicha yardim. And one Yeshua set up in the Yarden, Shnemar, Ushtei Yasoi Avonim Hakim Yeshua B'Secha Yarden. This was for the nest that they crossed. The Echad Shehakim Begilgal. They after they went to Har Grisim HaRevel, they returned to Gilgal and set it up there. Shnemar, Ushtei Yasoi Avonim Ha'ela Asher Lochu that he took from the Yarden, he set up in Gilgal. 3 sets of stones. Moshe Be'eva Yarden, Yeshua in the Yarden itself, and one in Gilgal. Right? I mentioned yesterday Yerushalmi 4. The Tosfos brings in the Yerushalmi. There's 4th set of stones. Okay. Atan Rabbanan. Ketzad Kosvi Yisrael as a Torah on the Mizbeach and Har Evel. How exactly did they write the Torah? So Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Al Gabi Avonim Kasvua. They wrote it on Avonim. Shenemar v'chasafta al Avonim as Kol Divrei Torah Zayis Ber Hetiv. And after they wrote it, v'achkach Sodom Asid, they covered it up. They covered it up like a Sefer Torah should have a mantle on it. So they covered it up. So Amalei Rabbi Shimon said, according to you, Torah. How could they possibly have learned the Torah? After all, they can't see it. It's covered up. So Amalei Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon, Bini Yisrael Nasam Ema Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Kodesh Baruch Hu gave extra bina to the Umas Olam. The Shigroi Noiteirin. They sent their Seifrim. Shalahem. The Kiplu Es Hasid. They went ahead and peeled away the line. V'siyua, and then they wrote it down. This was the Gzadin that got the Goyim to go to Ver Shachas. So the Torah was in front of them. They could have learned it, and they didn't. That's what Rabbi Yehuda told Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says no. He says they first put Sid on it, and then they wrote it. Rabbi Shimon Al Gabi Sid Kosvu. First they they didn't write it and put sid on top of it. Rather, they put sid and then they wrote it on top of the sid. The kosvulahem, right? L'man asher lo yilamdu eschem lasas kechol, and they wrote on it in order you should learn not to do like kechol ta'evis ashasul alayim. You should not do like all about the ta'evis that they did. Olamarata shem hayu chaysim b'tshuva hayim kabbalah. So we see that they were given a chance. They would chaysim b'tshuva. They would do tshuva. They would be. It would be accepted. Amar Rav Shila, my time of Rav Shimon, that they wrote on top of the sid. The sid, vayu amim misrafos sid. Pasuk says the amim misrafos. The pasuk's in Shir Shirim that says what? That it's misrafos sid, and they dash in vayu amim misrafos shenigzar a din of streif on al gehenim al iske sid. Why misrafos they're going to be burnt in gehenim? Why al iske sid? Because they had the sid there and it was written on it, and they didn't go ahead and learn from the Torah. He said, "Masid ain't like takana el sreifa. Afaysin akutim the goyim there ain't like takana el sreifa." Kamana has the Tanya. So according to Rabbi, so they had a chance for tshuva. Kamana has the Tanya. B'shavisa shivyoy. By says he states like he says some chama revecha. B'shavisa shivyoy you'll capture a captive. Eshes shivas tayar. And we darshan right. The rabbis kananim shevachutz laretz. We're going to darshan the kananim that what or in chutz laretz that the din of yifas Torah is not with kanan b'chutz laretz. The chaysim b'tshuva makabel. Haman Reb Shimon, according to Reb Shimon, that you makabel them, right? That you makabel them. That even though they came from what if Eretz Yisrael is the din of loisachai kol neshama, guys, you can't let them live. But chutz laretz you would makabel. I will stop over here.